The strange will is announced in the heart of the galactic empire, under the shining domes of the High Council Hall. The greatest leaders of many worlds had gathered. It was a rare event. The legendary alien king, ruler of 20 star systems, had passed away. Everyone was eager to hear his final will. Powerful beings, royal families, and greedy merchants sat quietly, their faces serious and curious. Jason, a young human boy, stood at the edge of the grand hall. He was nothing compared to the others. He had no royal blood, no armies, no famous name. He was just a nobody. But somehow he had received an invitation. He clutched it tightly in his hand, still unsure if it was real. The head scribe, an old alien with silver skin, stepped forward. He opened a scroll that shimmered with golden letters. The room fell silent. Even the air felt heavy. "The great king's will shall now be read," the scribe announced. He began listing the treasures and lands left to different powerful houses, galaxies, fleets, rare minerals, all given to mighty beings. Names were called, and people bowed as they received their gifts. Then, the scribe paused. He looked confused. Whispers filled the room. He cleared his throat and continued. "To the human, known as Jason Miles," the scribe said, "the king leaves his most precious and challenging treasure, his daughter." The hall exploded in laughter. Nobles leaned over to whisper and chuckle. A few tried to hide their smiles, but most laughed openly. Some even clapped sarcastically. "He inherits the princess?" Someone mocked loudly. "The ugly daughter? What a cruel joke," another shouted. Even the council members were smiling. They had all heard the stories. The alien princess was famous for her unusual looks. Tales said her skin was rough like a stone. Her teeth were sharp as knives, and her eyes burned like dying stars. Many suitors had run away in fear. No one had ever stayed long enough to know her real name. Jason felt his face turn red. He clenched his fists but stayed silent. He could hear the laughter echoing in his head, each laugh cutting deeper than a blade. But inside, a strange feeling grew. Not anger, not shame. Something else. Curiosity. He raised his head and looked around the room. They all expected him to scream, to run, to refuse. But Jason did none of those things. He stepped forward. "I accept," he said simply. The laughter stopped. The hall grew so quiet that even the faint hum of the energy crystals could be heard. The council members looked at each other in shock. Some narrowed their eyes suspiciously. The head scribe blinked and then nodded slowly. "Very well," he said. "The bond is made. The human Jason Miles shall inherit the hand of Princess Liara." A pair of massive doors opened at the end of the hall. 2 guards walked forward, leading a figure covered in a heavy cloak. The figure's head was bowed. She shuffled slowly, almost unwillingly, until she stood before Jason. He tried to get a good look, but the cloak hid everything. He could only see a glimpse of her hands, covered in strange markings, and hear the soft sound of her breathing. "Your bride?" the scribe said. The council laughed again, but it was weaker this time. There was something uneasy in the air now, something they could not name. Jason extended his hand toward her. The cloaked figure hesitated, then placed her hand lightly in his. Her skin was cold and rough, but there was strength in her grip. For a moment, Jason thought he felt a tremor, like a suppressed sob. But when he looked into the shadow of her hood, he saw nothing but darkness. The ceremony ended quickly after that. No one stayed to celebrate. The nobles rushed away, eager to gossip and mock the human boy who had inherited a curse. Jason and the cloaked princess were escorted to a small private chamber. The door shut behind them with a loud click. For a long time they stood in silence. Finally, Jason spoke, his voice calm and steady. "I do not believe you are a curse," he said. The cloaked figure looked up sharply. Under the hood, something glimmered. Not hatred, not sadness. Something fragile, like hope. Jason smiled a little. "Maybe," he said softly. There is more to you than they see. The princess said nothing, but her hand tightened slightly in his. Outside, the stars of the galaxy spun silently, as if watching their story begin. And so, the strange will was announced, and the galaxy laughed. But they had no idea that a greater secret was hidden beneath the king's final gift, a secret that could change everything. The daughter is revealed. The room was small and cold, with metallic walls that hummed softly. The air smelled of old, stone and forgotten memories. Jason stood quietly, facing the cloaked figure who was now his bride. No guards remained. No council members watched. It was just the two of them. Two strangers bound by a dead king's strange wish. The princess did not move. She kept her face hidden deep under the thick, gray hood. Only the faint rise and fall of her breathing showed that she was alive. Jason waited, giving her time, not wanting to frighten her more. After a long silence, he spoke gently. "May I see your face?" he asked. The figure flinched. For a second, Jason thought she would refuse, but slowly, with trembling fingers, she reached up and pulled the hood back. Jason kept his face calm, though inside he felt 1,000 emotions swirl. Princess Liara was different. Her skin was rough in places, almost like cracked stone. Strange, silver patterns ran along her cheeks and neck, glowing faintly in the dim light. Her hair was short and wild like a crown of black flames. Her eyes, oh, her eyes, were deep pools of gold, fierce yet fragile, as if hiding a storm behind a thin wall of glass. She was not ugly, not to Jason. She was cursed, touched by something unnatural. But beneath that strange surface, he saw her true soul. Scared, proud, lonely, Liara lowered her gaze quickly, expecting disgust, mockery, maybe even fear. It was what she had seen in every other face before. Her hands clenched into fists at her sides, but Jason only smiled softly. "You are not what they say," he said. The words hit her harder than any blade. She looked up sharply, confusion flashing across her face. "I have seen worse," Jason added, half-joking, hoping to make her smile. But Liara did not laugh. Instead, her golden eyes filled with something far heavier than sadness. A warning. "You do not understand," she whispered. Her voice was low, rough like stones grinding together. "They do not mock me because of how I look. They fear what I am." Jason frowned. "What do you mean?" Before she could answer, a sudden noise echoed outside the door. A sharp crack like a weapon being cocked. Liara's head snapped toward the sound. Without thinking, she grabbed Jason's arm and pulled him into the shadows. "They have sent assassins," she hissed. Jason's heart pounded. "Why?" "Because," Liara said grimly, "you accepted the inheritance." Footsteps approached, heavy boots against the cold floor. More than one set. At least 3, maybe 4. Jason's mind raced. He had no weapons, no armor, nothing but the strange trust that had started forming between him and this cursed princess. Liara pulled a small dagger from under her cloak. The blade shimmered with a sickly green light. She pressed it into Jason's hand. "Defend yourself," she whispered. "Trust no one." Before he could ask more, the door exploded inward. 3 figures rushed in, tall, armored, their faces hidden, behind black visors. Without a word, they attacked. Liara moved like a shadow. Despite her rough skin and strange body, she was fast, faster than Jason could follow. She ducked under a swinging blade and slammed her fist into one attacker's chest, sending him flying back into the wall. Jason barely dodged another strike. Instinct took over. He swung the dagger wildly, catching one assassin's arm. The blade sizzled on contact, burning through the armor like paper. The attacker screamed and fell. The last one hesitated, seeing his comrades fall. He raised a communicator. To his lips, the human nose, he growled into the device. "Princess has broken containment." Before he could finish, Liara leapt forward and crushed the communicator with one sharp blow. Silence fell. Blood stained the floor. The dead and wounded lay scattered. The metallic walls, once cold, now seemed to pulse with a quiet menace. Jason leaned against the wall, panting. He stared at Liara, who stood tall, her chest rising and falling with effort. They really tried to kill us, Jason said, still trying to believe it. They will not stop, Liara said. Her voice was like steel. You are tied to me now. They will hunt you too. Why? Jason asked again, more desperate now. What secret is so terrible that they would kill for it? Liara hesitated. Then she lifted her rough hand and placed it gently against Jason's forehead. A soft golden glow spread from her fingers, and images flooded his mind. Visions of ancient wars, forbidden powers, a cursed bloodline that could control life and death itself. Jason staggered back, his heart racing. You are not just a princess, he said slowly. You are a weapon. Liara nodded once, a small, bitter smile touching her lips. And now, she said, you are part of the war. Outside, distant alarms began to wail. The council knew the assassins had failed, and they were coming. Jason looked at Liara. Despite everything, he did not feel regret. He felt purpose. Let's run, he said. No, Liara replied, her eyes burning with fierce light. Let's fight. And so, the true beginning of their story was written, in blood, in courage, and in secrets far too dangerous for any ordinary human to survive. The hidden truth. The alarm screamed through the empty corridors as Jason and Liara raced down narrow, twisting halls. Their footsteps echoed behind them, mixing with the sound of shouting guards and the sharp clank of weapons being loaded. The palace, once a symbol of power and control, now felt like a giant trap, closing in on them from all sides. Jason's heart pounded. Every turn could bring an ambush. Every shadow could hide death. But he stayed close to Liara, trusting her instinct to guide them. Where are we going? He gasped. To the king's vault, Liara answered without looking back. The truth lies there. They reached a sealed door made of thick, glowing metal. Strange alien symbols floated across its surface like living things. Jason stopped, unsure. How do we open it? He asked. Liara stepped forward and placed her palm against the door. The silver patterns on her skin flared brightly, matching the door's glow. With a deep grinding sound, the door slid open, revealing a dark, silent chamber inside. Without hesitating, they entered. Inside, the air was thick and heavy, filled with the scent of old paper, rusted metal, and something else, something ancient. Strange objects floated in glass tubes. Books written in forgotten languages lined the walls. In the center of the room stood a single pedestal, and on it rested a black crystal, pulsing slowly like a heartbeat. Liara approached it carefully. This, she whispered, is the Soul Stone. Jason stared. What is it? It holds the true history of my bloodline, Liara said, her voice shaking slightly. And the secret the council would kill to keep buried. Before Jason could ask more, Liara touched the stone. Images exploded into their minds. Visions of ancient wars flashed before them. Armies of powerful beings with golden skin and burning eyes. They wielded weapons that could bend stars and shatter planets. And among them stood a young woman, her face half hidden by a silver mask. Liara's ancestor. They saw betrayal. The council, once weak and small, had tricked the warrior bloodline. They used lies and dark magic to curse Liara's people, turning them into twisted versions of themselves, stealing their beauty, their power, and their honor. And when the bloodline became weak, the council rose, declaring themselves rulers of the galaxy. But one child survived each generation, carrying the spark of the old power, a spark that, if awakened, could destroy the council forever. Jason stumbled back, overwhelmed. They cursed you, he said, horror in his voice. Yes, Liara whispered, and they fear me. Not because of how I look, but because of what I could become. Suddenly, heavy footsteps sounded outside the vault. The guards had found them. We have to go, Jason said urgently. But Liara stood frozen, her eyes locked on the soulstone. "No," she said, a fierce light burning in her golden eyes. "I have to break the curse." She turned to Jason, her voice steady but full of hidden fear. "Will you help me?" she asked. Jason hesitated only a moment. "Always," he said. Liara smiled. The first real smile he had seen from her. It was small, but it carried the weight of hope, the kind of hope that could change galaxies. Together, they grabbed the soul stone and ran deeper into the vaults. Behind them, the heavy doors slammed shut again, trapping the guards outside. But not for long. They sprinted through dark passageways filled with relics and old traps. The palace was built like a maze designed to protect secrets, and Jason realized they were running through forgotten tunnels that even the council feared to enter. As they turned a corner, Jason caught a glimpse of something moving, a shadow too large to be human. "What was that?" he whispered. "Worse than guards," Liara said grimly. "They have awakened the sentinels." The floor shook under their feet. From the darkness, giant mechanical creatures emerged, their bodies made of black steel and glowing red veins. They moved slowly but with deadly purpose. "How do we fight that?" Jason asked, gripping the small dagger Liara had given him. "We don't," Liara said. "We outrun them." They ran, weaving through crumbling halls and ancient ruins. The sentinels crashed behind them, destroying everything in their path. They finally reached a hidden stairway that spiraled upward toward a forgotten part of the palace. The royal gardens, abandoned for centuries. Bursting through a crumbling archway, they emerged into the gardens. Wild vines and strange alien flowers grew everywhere. Under the blood-red sky, the garden looked haunted and alive. Liara dropped to her knees near an ancient fountain, panting for breath. Jason knelt beside her. "What now?" he asked. Liara placed the soul stone into the fountain's dry basin. The water, long gone, suddenly gushed forth, glowing with pure white light. The ground trembled and a soft hum filled the air. From the water, a voice rose, old and sorrowful. "Child of broken blood," the voice said. "You seek to heal the past." Liara bowed her head. "I seek to break the chains placed on my bloodline," she said. The voice paused, then spoke again. "Then you must find the heart of the king, hidden beyond the reach of the council. Only with it can the curse be lifted." The light faded, the water stilled, the soul stone turned black again. Jason looked at Liara. "Where is the heart of the king?" he asked. Liara stood slowly, her face set with fierce determination. "In the forbidden sector," she said, "a place no one has dared to enter for 1,000 years." Behind them, distant explosions echoed as the council's forces broke through the vault. They had little time left. Jason tightened his grip on the dagger. Then, "Let's not waste it," he said, and together under the dying light of a blood-red sky they began their journey to a place forgotten by history, a place where the true war for freedom would begin. The dangerous quest, the stolen ship shuddered as it broke free from the palace's outer defenses. Alarms wailed behind them, lasers sliced the air, but somehow Jason and Liara made it through. The stars opened wide before them, a sea of darkness dotted with distant lights. Freedom. For now. Jason gripped the controls tightly, his knuckles white. The ship was old and slow, barely holding together, but it flew, and that was all that mattered. Liara sat beside him, the soul stone resting in her lap. Her eyes stared into the void ahead, filled with heavy thoughts. "The forbidden sector," Jason said, his voice low. "What exactly are we walking into? Death?" Liara answered simply. "And secrets even the council fears." Jason swallowed hard but nodded. He had made his choice long ago. For days they traveled through uncharted space. Supplies were low and danger lurked in every shadow. Strange anomalies twisted space itself, and broken ships floated like ghostly wrecks. Sometimes they would pick up strange signals, whispers in languages no one spoke anymore. One night, while Liara slept in the corner, Jason stared out into the blackness. He thought about Earth, about the normal life he had left behind. A small apartment, cheap food, forgotten dreams. Now he was flying toward a place no sane being would go, with a princess who carried the future of a broken empire on her shoulders. He smiled bitterly. Life was strange. Suddenly the ship's warning lights flared. Jason jumped. "Incoming vessel," the computer announced in a cold voice. Jason quickly woke Liara. Together they watched the radar. A massive ship approached, black as space, silent and fast. "Who is it?" Jason asked. Liara frowned. "Pirates. Worse, scavengers from the outer void." Before Jason could react, the pirate ship fired. The stolen ship shook violently. Sparks flew from the control panels. "They are not here to steal," Liara said grimly. "They are here to erase us." "Then let's not make it easy," Jason growled. He dodged the next blast barely in time. The small ship spun wildly, alarms blaring. Liara moved fast, activating ancient defense systems hidden in the walls. Small cannons popped out, firing bright energy bolts at the incoming threat. But it was not enough. The pirate ship was too strong. "We have to land," Liara shouted. "Where?" Jason demanded. Liara pointed to a dark planet below them, barely visible, surrounded by swirling clouds. "There," she said. "It is a dead world. They will not follow." With no other choice, Jason dove toward the planet. The ship screamed through the atmosphere, fire licking its hull. They crashed into the surface hard, skidding across black sands before slamming into a broken cliff. Everything went dark. When Jason opened his eyes, he tasted blood. He groaned and checked Liara. She was unconscious but breathing. With effort, he pulled her free from the wreckage. The air outside was cold and thin. The sky above was black with no stars, only swirling red clouds. They had landed on a dead world, all right, but something about it felt wrong. Like the planet itself was watching them. Jason set up a small camp inside the broken ship. As Liara rested, he explored nearby. The black sand crunched under his boots. Strange, twisted structures rose from the ground, ancient ruins half buried in the dust. He found markings on the walls, symbols similar to those on the soulstone. Was this place connected to Liara's bloodline? He returned to the camp just as Liara woke. "Where are we?" she whispered. "I don't know," Jason said. "But I think it's part of the old empire." Liara sat up slowly, her strength returning. "Then the heart of the king may be closer than we thought," she said. Suddenly a low rumble shook the ground. Jason looked around, panic rising. Out of the dust came figures, dozens of them. Not alive, not dead. Mechanical skeletons wrapped in ancient armor, their eyes burning with cold blue light. The guardians of the dead world. "Stay behind me," Liara said, pulling the green glowing dagger. But Jason stepped beside her. "No," he said. "We fight together." The first guardian charged, swinging a rusted sword. Liara moved fast, slicing cleanly through its chest. Jason ducked a blow and stabbed upward, the dagger burning into the machine's core. But for everyone, they destroyed 2 more rose from the sands. "They are endless," Jason shouted. "Then we find their source," Liara answered. Fighting side by side, they pushed forward, heading toward the largest ruin, a broken temple at the center of the wasteland. Each step was a battle, each breath a struggle. Inside the temple, the guardians were thicker, their attacks faster. But at the heart of the ruin they found it. A black throne and upon it a dead king. His body had long since turned to dust, but in his chest glowed a faint light, a fragment of pure energy, the heart of the king. "There it is," Jason cried. But standing between them and the heart was a final guardian, twice the size of the others with armor that shimmered like obsidian. The guardian let out a roar that shook the entire temple. Liara gripped Jason's hand. "No matter what happens," she said, "we end this together." Jason nodded, and with their last strength, they charged the final guardian. Outside, the dead world held its breath, waiting to see if the last heirs of a broken bloodline would succeed, or vanish like all those who came before. Betrayal among the council. The final guardian crashed to the ground with a heavy thud, its body crumbling into dust. Jason and Liara stood over it, panting, their weapons dripping with strange black oil. Every muscle in Jason's body screamed in pain, but he pushed it aside. The heart of the king still glowed faintly in the throne, waiting for them. Liara stepped forward slowly. She reached out with trembling hands and carefully lifted the glowing heart from the ancient remains. As her fingers closed around it, a shockwave burst out from the throne, sending a silent pulse across the dead world. In that moment, every mechanical guardian outside froze, their blue eyes fading into darkness. The battle was over. But the real war had just begun. "We have it," Jason said, his voice hoarse. Liara nodded, but her face was grim. "The council will feel this. They will know." They hurried back to the wrecked ship, hiding the heart of the king inside a shielded compartment. Somehow the old vessel still worked enough to lift them into orbit. As they broke free of the cursed planet, Jason looked at Liara. "What now?" "Now," she said, "we make them answer for their crimes." They set a course for the Galactic Council's hidden fortress, a place so heavily guarded that most people believed it was just a myth. Jason had doubts, fears, but he trusted Liara. He had come too far to turn back. Days passed in tense silence. Liara spent her time studying the Soul Stone and the heart, trying to understand how to lift the blood curse fully. Jason kept the ship running, watching for threats. On the fourth night, as Jason repaired a damaged console, a soft sound caught his attention. Footsteps. Not Liara's. Heavier. Deliberate. He grabbed his dagger and crept toward the cargo bay. The door was slightly open. He peered inside and froze. A man stood there, dressed in the robes of a galactic priest, holding a communication device in his hand. "Target acquired," the man whispered. "They have the heart. Prepare extraction." Betrayal. Rage filled Jason's chest. He kicked the door open, startling the man. "Who are you?" Jason demanded. The priest dropped the communicator and raised his hands. "Wait, I can explain," he stammered. "I was planted months ago. The council knew the king would choose a successor. They sent me to guide you, to control you." "Control me," Jason barked. "You tried to sell us out." The priest stepped back, fear in his eyes. "Listen," he begged. "The council is too strong. You can't defeat them. Give me the heart, and they will let you live. A quiet life on some distant world. No more running. No more fighting." For a moment, Jason hesitated. The promise of safety tugged at him. No more battles. No more blood. But then he thought of Liara's eyes filled with silent suffering. He thought of the council's lies, their cruelty, the way they had cursed generations just to stay in power. He tightened his grip on the dagger. "We are not giving up," Jason said coldly. The priest snarled and lunged at him, but Jason was ready. With one swift motion, he drove the dagger into the priest's chest. The man gasped, then fell lifelessly to the floor. Liara appeared at the door, drawn by the noise. "What happened?" she asked, her voice sharp. "The council had a spy on board," Jason said. He looked down at the body, anger burning in his heart. "They are more desperate than we thought." Liara's face hardened. "Then we are getting close." They dumped the body into the blackness of space and pushed the ship faster toward the council fortress. But the betrayal had shaken them. If the council could reach them even here, what other traps were waiting ahead? As they neared the fortress, the ship's scanners picked up strange signals, mines floating silently in space, cloaked fighter squadrons lurking in the shadows, and massive turrets hidden in nearby asteroids. "We can't fight our way through that," Jason said. "We won't," Liara replied. "We'll sneak in." Using the Soul Stone's energy to mask their ship, they drifted closer, pretending to be just another piece of space debris. Slowly, painfully, they slipped past the outer defenses. The fortress came into view, a massive black structure shaped like a coiled serpent, floating above a dead moon. The sight of it sent chills down Jason's spine. Inside that fortress sat the rulers of the galaxy, the liars who had twisted history, cursed bloodlines, and now hunted them like animals. Jason and Liara landed their ship on a forgotten dock far from the main gates. The metal was rusted, the lights flickered weakly. It was a place no one ever checked, perfect for ghosts and rebels. As they stepped onto the dock, Liara turned to Jason. "From here," she said, "there is no turning back." Jason smiled grimly. "I wasn't planning to." Together, they disappeared into the shadows, carrying with them the last hope of a broken empire and the fire of rebellion ready to burn a corrupt galaxy to the ground. And far above them, deep within the fortress walls, the council waited, ready to crush them or be destroyed. The true princess awakens. The fortress swallowed them whole. As Jason and Liara moved deeper inside, the cold metal walls seemed to close in, whispering old secrets and forgotten betrayals. Every step echoed like a warning. Hidden cameras followed them, though no alarm sounded. The council wanted them to come. They wanted to watch them fall. "They know we are here," Jason said quietly. "Good," Liara replied, her voice low and steady. "Let them see who they fear." They followed a narrow service tunnel using ancient maps Liara had found in the Soulstone's memories, twisting paths, hidden doors, maintenance shafts, ways even the council had forgotten existed. But no matter how carefully they moved, they could not stay hidden forever. As they crossed a wide hall lined with statues of long-dead rulers, a deep voice echoed through the walls. "Welcome, daughter of dust," it said mockingly. "Welcome, lost child of a forgotten bloodline." Jason and Liara froze. "We have been waiting for you," the voice continued. "Bring us the heart of the king and we may spare your miserable lives." Liara's face hardened. "They are afraid," she whispered. They pressed on, heading for the throne chamber, the very heart of the council's power. But the traps began. Walls shifted suddenly, cutting off paths. Floors dropped away into endless pits. Mechanical sentries burst from hidden doors, their weapons blazing. Jason and Liara fought side by side, dodging, striking, running. Every battle cost them strength, but every victory brought them closer. At last, battered and bleeding, they reached a massive door covered in golden carvings, scenes of victory, of conquest, of lies. "This is it," Jason said, breathing hard. "Once we step through," Liara said, "everything changes." She pressed the heart of the king into a hidden slot on the door. The carvings shimmered and shifted. The door split open slowly with a deep, groaning sound. Inside, the council waited. 12 figures sat in a circle, cloaked in silver and black, their faces hidden behind cold masks. Their presence was overwhelming, like standing before ancient mountains. In the center of the chamber stood a raised platform surrounded by swirling energy. It was a prison, and inside it, chained and broken, sat another figure. Liara gasped. It was herself, or rather, a projection of who she could have been. Pure, powerful, untouched by curse or lies. The council spoke as one, their voices a terrible chorus. "This is the true Liara," they said. "What you could have been. Perfection under our control." Liara stepped forward slowly. "You tried to break me," she said. "You tried to chain my blood, my soul." The council laughed, a sound like metal, grinding on bone. "You are nothing without us," they said. "Without our chains you would be a monster." Jason stepped beside her. "No," he said. "She will be what she chooses to be." He handed Liara the soul stone. It pulsed brightly in her hands, responding to her will. The council rose from their seats, energy crackling around them. "Submit," they commanded, but Liara's eyes burned with golden fire. "I am no one's weapon," she said. "I am no one's curse." She stepped onto the platform. The energy tore at her, trying to crush her, to twist her mind. Memories of pain, shame, loneliness flooded her thoughts. The council's lies whispered in her ears. You are nothing. You are ugly. You are broken. But Jason's voice broke through the storm. You are stronger than them, he shouted. You are more than what they made you. Liara closed her eyes and gripped the soul stone tightly. The heart of the king floated beside her, glowing brighter and brighter. Inside her, something snapped. Not in weakness, but in awakening. The curse shattered. The silver markings on her skin flared into brilliant gold. The rough, cracked surface smoothed into radiant beauty. Her hair flowed like liquid night, and her golden eyes blazed with power older than the stars. The true princess had awakened. The energy prison exploded outward, blasting the council back. They staggered, shocked for the first time in centuries. Liara stood tall, her presence filling the chamber like a rising sun. Your time is over, she said, her voice a weapon sharper than any blade. The council attacked in desperation, throwing waves of dark energy. But Liara moved like a storm. With a wave of her hand, she turned their attacks to dust. With another, she shattered their thrones. Jason fought beside her, his dagger flashing, protecting her flanks. One by one, the council members fell. Their masks cracked, their ancient bodies turned to ash. At last, only the High Chancellor remained, the oldest, the cruelest of them all. He knelt before Liara, fear in his dead eyes. Spare me, he whispered. I can give you power beyond dreams. Liara looked down at him. I do not want your power, she said softly. I want freedom. With a final wave of golden light, she erased him from existence. Silence fell. The fortress trembled. The old order was collapsing. Jason walked to Liara's side. She smiled at him, a real smile filled with life and hope. It is done, she said. Not yet, Jason replied, pointing to the swirling chaos outside the shattered windows. The galaxy was watching, and it was hungry for change. They had won the battle. But the real war, the war to rebuild, to heal, to free, was just beginning. Together, Liara and Jason stepped out into the rising light of a new dawn, and somewhere far away, across the cold stars, forgotten empires stirred once more. The final stand against the council, the fortress burned behind them, its towers collapsing one by one into clouds of smoke and ash. Alarms wailed into the cold silence of space, but no one came to the council's rescue. Their reign had ended, crushed by the very power they had tried to control. Jason and Liara stood on the edge of a broken balcony, watching the stars shift and flicker. The galaxy felt different now, like a beast waking up after a long sleep. But victory came with a heavy weight. They both knew it was not over yet. They will come, Jason said softly. The loyalists, the old families, those who believed in the council's lies. Liara nodded, her golden eyes fierce. Then let them come, she whispered. They returned to their ship, battered and scorched, but still flying. As they escaped the dying fortress, dozens of new ships appeared on the horizon, or fleets carrying banners of old noble houses, crimson flags, black serpents, golden skulls, symbols of greed and fear. They are blocking every path, Jason said, studying the scanner. They are afraid, Liara said. They think killing us will bring back their broken world. The radio crackled. This is Admiral Threx of the Royal Alliance, a voice barked. Surrender the traitor princess and the human thief. You will be given a quick death. Jason laughed bitterly. Generous of them. Liara smiled faintly. Ready to make history? She asked. Always, Jason replied. But even with all their courage, they could not fight an entire fleet alone. They needed allies. Liara placed her hand over the soul stone. It pulsed warmly, sending a silent call across the stars. A call to those who had suffered under the council's rule, to those who had lost families, worlds, futures. The response was immediate. Old rebel ships, long hidden in the shadows, answered. Broken armies once crushed by the council rose again. Scavengers, outcasts, forgotten heroes. They all came, the horizon filled with a patchwork fleet. Rusty, battered, but burning with purpose. "This is Captain Vorn," a voice said over the radio. "We fight with you, Princess, for the free worlds," another shouted. Jason grinned. "Looks like we have friends after all." The two fleets faced each other across the void, silent for a heartbeat. Then, with a roar that shook the stars themselves, the final battle began. The Loyalist fleet moved first, sending waves of fighters and heavy cruisers. Missiles streaked across space. Energy beams carved deadly lines through the dark. Jason piloted their ship through the chaos, dodging fire, striking back where he could. Beside him, Liara unleashed the Soulstone's power, shielding their allies, tearing through enemy ranks with golden blasts of pure energy. But the enemy was strong, ruthless. One by one, rebel ships fell. The odds shifted against them. "We can't hold them much longer," Jason said through gritted teeth. Liara's hands trembled over the controls. The Soulstone was powerful, but it was draining her, pulling at her life force. "There is one way," she said quietly. Jason looked at her sharply. "What way?" "I can unleash the full power of the heart," she said, "but it will burn everything. Maybe even me." Jason's heart twisted. There must be another way. Liara smiled sadly. "You once told me I could choose my path," she said. "This is my choice." Before he could stop her, she pressed both hands against the heart of the king. The Soulstone and the heart merged, a blinding explosion of golden light rippling outward. The Loyalist fleet froze. Their ships shuddered, their weapons powered down. The golden light stripped away their hatred, their lies, their chains. On every world across the Empire, people looked up and saw the sky change. The old banners fell. The Council's symbols turned to dust. Freedom, real freedom, bloomed like fire across the stars. But at the center of the explosion, Liara was falling. Jason caught her in his arms as she collapsed. "Stay with me," he whispered desperately. Liara's golden eyes fluttered, open, weak, but alive. "We are free," she whispered. Jason held her tightly, tears burning his eyes. "You did it," he said. "We did it." The battle ended not with a final shot, but with a wave of light that cleansed the galaxy. The Loyalists surrendered, not to power, but to truth. And as peace spread across forgotten worlds and shattered colonies, Jason and Liara stood at the heart of a new beginning. No longer a cursed princess, no longer a mocked human. They were heroes. They were hope. And under a sky filled with new stars, they promised each other that the mistakes of the past would never be repeated. The galaxy had fallen once. Now it would rise again, freer, stronger, and more beautiful than ever before.